Well, this is an introduction to bird count. So you don't know what kind of weather you're going to get. You can see in the background there's snow and a little rain going on, and it develops lifelong friendships. You may end up with flooding. This is Chappaqua Road one year on a Christmas bird count. You never know what you're going to see on a Christmas bird count. So this was right by Chappaqua Road on Otter Out. You get great opportunities for photograph birds. This was by the Hudson Hills Golf Course. This was found by Ed Mertz one Christmas count, is a peregrine falcon on the Taconic Bridge, the new bridge. So you have great discoveries. And then you have food. It could be potluck, or it could be one person cooking at T-Town with a couple of other people chipping in. But you could also, a good opportunity, numbers are going up of some birds. So the barred owl on a Putnam bird count. And lifelong friendships. And great photos. This is from a number of years ago, and something caught Anne's attention. and you had Michael here and me and Ralph, who started both the Putnam and Peaksville bird count back in the mid-50s. And this was at his house when he hosted the bird count for Putnam at his house. And a table full of friendships developed at the bird count. And you could be a first timer, you could be an all-dayer, or you can just do a feeder count. We don't have enough feeder counts. Here is 4 guys that totaled over 200 years of bird counts in Putnam County. It was probably more like 250 years of doing bird counts. Cool. And some of them started, the Gotchfells, wearing the glasses here, they started when they were teenagers. And they still come back from southern Jersey and Brooklyn to do the Putnam bird count. And again, friendships created, and talking about the counts. And over here on the right, Bonnie Toludo moved away, and she just checked feeders in Ossining. And you could do that. You could just drive around. And she did the parking lot and churches looking for the easy to identify birds, starlings and pigeons and house sparrows. So we're always looking for new people. You never know where it's going to go.
There's John Salmon looking a little tired. Lynn. I think he was a little tired at that point.
Yeah, well, it's a good, rewarding day, and it's been going on for over 125 years now, Mike.
Yeah. This is 124. Yeah.
124, and it's really the data coming out from it. It's documented global warming, change in migration. If you just looked at the Bronx Westchester count or the Putnam count, the change in birds from the first 10 years versus the last 10 years.
So basically, Christmas bird counts started in 1900. Basically, Frank Chapman, was a curator for American Museum of Natural History. He was not happy with what they call the side hunt. Basically, people would get new guns for Christmas, and a tradition was to go out with those new guns, and everybody would shoot everything that moved, birds, chipmunks, everything else, and whoever had the bigger pile got won, basically. So he decided to post this in Bird Lore, basically telling people to go out on Christmas and Christmas Day and send in the bird of results that they saw for the for that day, and he would publish the the best ones. And so basically, again, Christmas Day, 1900, there were 27 counters that did 25 counts, and they saw 86 species were found. We switched to not last year, the year before. I couldn't find last year's results. The 122nd overall count, over 2,600 counts, with over 76,000 people out there, seeing about 2,500 different species worldwide, and they counted basically 42 million birds. So it has grown to now a worldwide phenomenon. So why do we count? Again, how large is that population? What is the distribution of birds in early winter? And that can change. And then observe changes over time, which is the really cool thing. So I'd like to show this one. If you take a look at these 12 birds, which birds do we see basically in the lower Hudson Valley fairly regularly on our Christmas bird counts, and which birds would be really nice finds? So it made it easy. Nowadays, the 6 on the right, snow goose, mockingbird, cormorant, red-bellied woodpecker, turkey, house finch, they're real pretty common birds. But if you go back to the early 1900s, 1920s, those birds were not seen around here. All those birds were basically rare. What was seen on those counts are those 6 birds on the left. Eastern meadowlarks were very common around here. We had a lot more open pastures, barn owls, purple finch used to be regular. And so we have seen a lot of changes over the year. So this is just a look at the ringneck pheasant from 3 of our area counts, from Putnam County, Peekskill Count, and the Bronx Westchester. You can see where ringneck pheasants were once a fairly common bird, and now it's now a rarity, unless some hunting group released some. So, if you're interested in count, there are many counts to choose from. The counts take place usually in about a 3-weekend period on either side of December 25th. These are the counts that I was able to get dates for on the NYSOA website. You can see the Bronx Registers on a Saturday, December 23rd. A lot of them are early, the 16th and 17th. And, we all need help. Peekskill's on the 16th, which includes Crone Point. Putman is usually on a later date. That will be January 2nd. And you can see Dutchess up there, Ashokan all the way up. And if those even people want to go out to Long Island or Brooklyn, Queens, they all have counts. You can do up to 6 or 7 counts in a year. I've done 6 one time, never do again. But I generally do 4, and once in a while 5. So I've been the count compiler for the Bronx Westchester count for about 35 years. Still can't believe that. And basically it covers most of the Bronx and southern Westchester, basically below 287. And so how a count works is that it's basically a circle, although the ones that overlap around here are a little bit less than circles. But each area is then basically broken up into areas that are then even broken up into even smaller groups. So, there's no one meeting place for a Christmas bird count. The Bronx Westchester count has about 35 parties, totaling a little over 100 people that go out assigned areas, and they count and identify everything they see. And then the regional compilers, regional area leaders compile it. And then, again, we have a great dinner, this time at Lenoir Nature Preserve, $15 from Great San Martino Restaurant. And this count has been going on since 1924. It was started by the famed Bronx County Bird Club. A lot of those famous people out there, and even Roger Tory Peterson was part of the Bronx County Bird Club for a little while there. So this is actually our 100th count this year. Last year, the count counted its 4 millionth bird. I think Scarsdale came in with a good number of Canada goose and popped us over 4 million for the total of all our counts. So last year, just to show you an idea, we found 114 species, which is a couple below our normal species. We have seen as much as I think 126 species. And last year, yeah, the numbers were kind of low. It was kind of too nice of a weather, but highlights included greater white-fronted goose, black-backed gull, osprey for only the second time, chat, boat-tailed grackle, which might become a regular now, and we even had an indigo bunting at Lenmore Nature Preserve. Waterfowl were down. It'll be interesting to see how that goes, depending on when things freeze over and when things get pushed further down here. We did see only two new high counts. One for tufted titmouse, but was kind of interesting. The year before, we had a 62-year low. So it shows you how things can fluctuate from year to year. And I think yellow-bellied sapsucker was the other high count. And it's not only the birds that you see, but what's also interesting, the birds that you miss. Because that could be an indication that one, they had migrated down, or they all moved out of the area, or their numbers are decreasing. So even our misses are interesting data that we kind of take a look at.
Yeah, I've been Rockland's compiler for, started around the year 2000, so a bit over 20 years. I've divided it into three sort of classic divisions. The historical or Christmas counts, ghosts of Christmas counts past. I'm not going to talk about that. Michael talked about some of it, and sort of a ghosts of Christmas counts yet to come, so the future. And I won't get into that, but that's more of a promotion to get people to join. I've spent a fair bit of time on the Christmas counts of the present. And we're talking about since the inception of the CBC for Rockland Audubon in 1947 up through 2022. So our first count was in 1947. It was December 20th. At that time, we had 14 counters, 14 observers out in 5 groups. I've got a list of at least 12 of the participants. I'm not sure what happened to the other 2, but some are notable. Robert Deed, he was actually our first Christmas count compiler. Not quite sure how many years he did that for, but a number. That he was also sort of the official statistics keeper. He was a professional newspaper reporter, writer. Eugene Brown, he is still doing the count. I don't think he has missed a single count since the first. So this is our 77th count. So if he counts this year, which I expect that he will, he may do a feeder count, but that'll be his 77th year. John C. Orth, he did the northernmost section, the Stony Point area. He was at one time the director, I believe, of the Bear Mountain Museum and Zoo. So they spent, well, total of 34 and a half hours during that first day and covering 27 miles by foot. And it sounds like it was a fairly cool, windy day. Not too different than what we see now. We did have an advantage of, what I assume with Bob Deed's contacts, we managed to get a full page spread, or at least a front page spread in the Nyack Journal covering the count. And it's kind of interesting to take a look at their first list. They got 47 species, which is convenient. They started in 47, they got one for each year. A total of 2,227 birds, which by today's standards is extremely small amount. They did get a mute swan, which that was apparently very rare at the time. There was only 1 to 3 individuals that were overwintering in Lake Lucille in the county. So they had those staked out. So they managed to get that. It's kind of interesting, 72 American black duck, which in itself is not terribly unusual, but if you look at it in relationship to the number of mallards they got, 3, I think nowadays you might want to at least flip those numbers around. They had 22 common goldeneye, which by today's standards is a pretty goodly number. We get maybe a couple at best. Number of tree sparrows, pretty abundant. They had 123. 12 meadowlarks. That's probably a fairly good number. 85 yellow rumps, certainly good by today's standards. But what's also interesting are what you don't see on the list. Canada goose. How can you miss Canada goose in Rockland today? Ring-billed gulls, they're all over. American robin, red-bellied woodpecker, pileated woodpecker, common raven, common grackles, mourning doves, rock pigeon, both vultures, Carolina wren. They found none of those. So jumping ahead to our last survey, which, Michael, you might want to check your math. Last year's should have been the 123rd count. It was Rockland Audubon's 76th count. And we now take a little more detailed information on the weather. We've got a local weather station that we download that. So we have the tracking for the entire day of the wind, temperatures, dew points, etc. And I'm not going to go through all the different species, but in 2022, we ended up with 87 species, plus 1 count week species. It doesn't go into that total, and a total of 19,317 individuals. So remember, compared to that with the 1947 survey with 47 species and 2,200 individuals, it made quite a vast increase. And if you look at the numbers plotted out over time, the number of species, this upper line, see that that first year was really a kind of an all-time low at 47, and gradually worked up and was gradually climbing until about the mid-70s, and then made a kind of a step up and increasing slightly ever since then. And same sort of thing with the number of individuals that we see. Very low numbers until about the mid-70s, and then a fairly substantial jump. And then actually we seemed to take a dip when West Nile hit, but numbers have remained relatively consistent. I think one issue that we have with the Rockland is that the step jump in the mid 70s. Apparently, there was. Well, I certainly wasn't there at the time, so I don't know exactly what happened, and I cannot find any records of what happened. But apparently, it was decided. Here's the circle, a 7.5 mile radius circle, plotted out, and it was somewhere along the line decided that Piermont Pier area, this lower part of Rockland County, was more productive. So that was added to the circle, which I don't think is quite a legitimate thing to do, but it's been carried on for years. So that's probably what's accounting for that jump in the mid 70s. The other thing that I wanted to point out, somebody was asking about Tarrytown. Well, Tarrytown, Sleepy Hollow, Rockefeller falls in this little sliver here, Peekskill.
Peekskill.
But that one little sliver falls outside, and so it was not being done, but should be since it's included in our circle. So you know Elijah Goodwin. We also picked up one, maybe two people, both of them fairly good birders, that they work for the Sleepy Hollow Country Club, which is a beautiful piece of property with a lot of land, good habitat, and they volunteered, or at least one of them so far, volunteered to pick that up for us. Yeah, that's all I have.